Hello y'all, I am back again for another video, and this video is going to be about paranoia and the narcissist. So I am going to also say this. I want to thank you, sister, from the YouTube channel Following Juju, and I am also going to ask whomever is listening to this video, if you are not already subscribed to the sister Following Juju. It's spelled, I think, Followin Juju, Juju. I'm praying that I'm pronouncing that properly. And please subscribe to that sister YouTube channel. And thank you so much for listening in here. And if you are not already subscribed to my channel, subscribe here also. Y'all, I am on this exercise bike. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been on my exercise bike for a couple of weeks. However, I have been doing my walking. So, y'all hearing this background music, right? You don't feel paranoid, do you? Do you feel any paranoia? Or do you feel suspense? Hopefully you're not paranoid. Or maybe you're a little of both, who knows? So here I go. So again, thank you, sister. I appreciate you so much. So this video is going to be not just a video about the subject. It's going to be almost like a class. And so whenever you're kind of planning a video or there's a video request, there's some form of research that goes into the video, right? Not to say I don't research things when I'm doing my own video. However, because I did not come up with the subject matter completely on my own, everything kind of linked together. When this sister left the comment asking for this request, there was another kind of video that I was watching. It was about mental illness and what this lady was going through. And I'll kind of do that video separate. So when this sister, Following Juju, left the comment asking and requesting for this video, and y'all, you can do video requests too. It's not just for one particular person. However, through consistent commenting here and there, you do bond with some viewers on a closer level because you get familiar with one another. They're consistently viewing and listening to your videos. So because there is some form of research that will go into this, then it makes a difference, you know. So it becomes not just a video, but a class. And, you know, I like to use real life examples. So what I did was, and this may seem tedious, or I don't know how you may view it, but this is just how I do things. So let's first begin with the word paranoia. If you Google it or look it up in the dictionary, it means unjustified suspicion and mistrust of other people or their actions. 2, the unwarranted or delusional belief that one is being persecuted, harassed, or betrayed by others. I went through some situations. I've gone through over the past couple of weeks, few months or whatever, kind of like a form of a little mini hell, right? And if you notice, I had kind of uploaded or took a little break. I was uploading some TikToks and things like that. I'm always going to upload even if I'm not doing a video about narcissism. So what I did, I said, well, let me look up the opposite of paranoia. And so when I looked up the opposite of paranoia, I actually learned a new word that I've never used in my entire life. And the word is pronoia. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It's spelled P-R-O-N-O-I-A. Pronoia. So I'm going to thank the sister Following Juju for asking for this video request because I learned a new word that I have never used. Now, sometimes I'll say it's good that we have balance, but I've never said it's better to be pronoia. So, pronoia means a state of mind that is the opposite of paranoia, whereas a person suffering from paranoia feels that persons or entities are conspiring against them. A person experiencing pronoia believes that the world around them conspires to do them good. I feel like we should have a balance, like be right in the middle, but I would say I'm more pronoia than paranoia in a lot of my ways, because being empathetic will help you to feel that the world will do you more good than bad, because you're going to be running into the right situations. So, how does this fit in with narcissists? It all is about lifestyle. Okay, so with the narcissist, there's a certain level of paranoia that just comes naturally in time. You could call it karma, bad luck, whatever you want to call it. I just had a situation where I had a relative that was killed and hit by a car or an actual vehicle. Okay, it was not exactly a car, but a vehicle. So once something like that happens, for me personally, I don't look at vehicles in the same way that I used to. Probably there's a little bit more paranoia. However, I didn't come back from that funeral thinking that I would be hit by a car. I was not extremely paranoid. However, when I got back within the last couple of months or so, since I've gotten back, I didn't write down the exact date that it happened, but I might have put some notes in somewhere. I was almost hit by a vehicle. But luckily, someone honked, and it was a bus that honked. I think I might have mentioned it in another video. However, I didn't come back overly paranoid, okay? And that's because of this. I went to the funeral. I did the best that I could do when it comes to paying my respects and saying my goodbyes. So being empathetic, if you do the best you can to do the right thing to the best of your ability, it should be no need for you to be paranoid. If you are not going around on a daily basis, starting arguments with people, fighting with people, abusing people, harassing people, insulting people, you should be less paranoid than the narcissist. The narcissist is paranoid ultimately a lot more or at a higher degree than you may be as an empathetic person, because of the way they live and the way they treat people, especially behind closed doors. So one example I will use is, and this is actually something that happened to me, y'all. I went through, like I said, a mini hell, even participating in my relative's funeral. So something as simple as a relative of the relative that passed passively aggressively threatening me, saying I better get out of town or else something bad is going to happen. I stay in town an entire week, but that particular psychopath has someone else call me to make sure I'm leaving town. You see the paranoia in that? That person threatened me. Was not female, by the way. This is a man, way taller than me, way bigger than me, that passively aggressively threatened me. However, that particular psychopath had someone else to check in to make sure I got out of town. Not just me, my entire family. So when I go in town, I don't come in town threatening people, passively aggressively or aggressively, So I don't have to have people call them to see if they're leaving, if this makes sense. And in the real sense of the word, as empathic people, we don't be studying these narcissists and psychopaths. And remember, there will be a difference. If the person is a psychopath, they really lack a conscience. They don't have much of a conscience, if they have one at all. And the conscience that they do have, they're pretending to have that. But they don't really have it in the way that we have it. So with that being said, psychopaths a lot of times in some areas may be less paranoid or not have as much paranoia. So I hope this makes sense. But what happens with psychopaths and narcissists is over time, it just builds up. They're discarded. They're leaving people. They're being discarded. A lot of times they're not taking care of themselves. Another narcissistic form of paranoia is hypocrisy, when they're hypocrites. They're believing something may happen to you because you and your family take night walks, but they're traveling often, so they don't see that they could potentially be in a plane crash. There's something bad going to happen to you because you take night walks here and there. However, they're on planes 3 to 4 times a year, but they couldn't imagine that they could be in a plane crash. And that type of narcissistic thinking comes from something is going to happen to you. Something is more likely to happen to you than to them. This is the way they think. So it's like a superiority complex. They think they're superior to you, if that makes sense. And I apologize if I mispronounce superiority. And these are type of situations I deal with just from dealing with friends and family. You know, that narcissistic attitude will come out of people. And that's why a lot of people go more and more solo and they're just private. And in those situations, if you want to keep this person in your life, just say, no, I don't go out as much as at night as I used to. However, I am going to take my night walks. When I do take my night walks, I go with people in the family. We go together. However, that particular type of person is not ever going to see that they're in just as much danger, if not more, than you are, because they're consistently hopping on airplanes. And this is a real live example, y'all, because I don't fly a lot. But someone can tell me or suggest that I'm in danger taking night walks, even though they're always on airplanes. So that's a form of paranoia. When someone's acting narcissistic in that area, and that doesn't mean they're a narcissist. See, it's a difference between acting narcissistic, being a hypocrite, and actually being a full-blown narcissist. So I just want to clarify that. So when I'm using these examples, especially that particular example, I'm not saying that person is a narcissist. However, these are things that you may notice in people. And I try to just give real live examples. And sometimes with these type of examples, you don't think about that thought process until maybe a day or two after it happens. So spiritually, okay, so this is one thing I want to say about paranoia. Remember, when I read the description of what paranoia is, we want to keep this in mind and just pay attention to this and listen to this very carefully. It also talks about other people, unjustified suspicion and mistrust of other people and their actions. And this is why we got to be very careful with this word, because this word within itself is based on discernment. And remember, all of us can use discernment. An empath, a normal, a narcissistic person, or a full-blown narcissist. Let me make sure I said those again. Empath, normal, narcissistic person, or a full-blown narcissist can use suspicion or mistrust. So remember, because this involves people, it's going to involve different opinions. It's just like a man or woman going to a psychiatrist saying that they feel like someone in the house may be being hurt or harmed, and the psychiatrist or psychologist saying, oh, you're just paranoid, here's some medication. But actually, they were empathic and their intuition was right on the money, and someone was being raped or harmed every night in that same household. So I hope this example makes sense because it involves the thought process of people, and it specifically includes people. We have to be very aware of not invalidating people and just assuming they're having paranoia. I've had narcissists tell me this. One particular narcissist told me this: you're going to leave me one day. At the time, I thought that that was a paranoid thought that this gentleman was having, because I'm thinking, well, why would you think that when I love you so much? That man knew the type of man he was. He knew that he was not ever going to fix any of his problems on his own to make the relationship work and grow to the point it could have grown. So at first I'm like, he's paranoid, but actually he was not. I did leave. I did go no contact. I did set up a bunch of boundaries, which made it hard to even continue to have a friendship. Now, how does this particular narcissist live and survive in the world right now, this particular gentleman? He collects weapons. He's looking around thinking somebody gonna get him, including me and whoever else is around. He can't drive around in his car without holding on to his pistol. He's looking out the window. He's yelling and screaming to the top of his lungs in his room without even cutting the light on. It's dark. And so in those type of situations, the demons are playing with them. Now, you may listen to this example and say, well, that man is crazy or whatever, and he's just paranoid. And remember, people. Remember when I read the description, it mentions people. So you got to remember this. Narcissists do a lot of stuff to people. A lot of stuff catches up with them. Many of them are walking around and have killed people. A lot of the most horrific killers, to be honest with y'all, never enter a penitentiary. So stop thinking just because someone has murdered somebody that most of them are in prison. That's actually not true. Okay. How would I know this? I've just lived life. I've heard and seen things. And all murderers are just not always going to prison. Some of them will share it here and there, many, many years. A lot of them, even if they admit to killing, a lot of them won't give you a victim's name. And so with this particular gentleman that I'm mentioning, that's collecting the weapons and things like that, you got to have an open mind to this. Is he paranoid? I'm going to tell you this. I don't think he is. Yes, he's done a lot of bad things. He said a lot of bad things. He screwed over a lot of women and probably some male friends during his life. But I promise you this. Watch people's behaviors. What happens in these kind of situations is somebody has told that narcissist that they gonna blow his wig off. And he ain't got no hair. Now you see what I'm talking about? So see, That's why a lot of people, I remember many, many years ago, I was watching this one case where this lady was dating this guy and he had this big, nice house. She didn't know he was into dealing serious drugs and a lot of drugs. She went to visit him one day. A transaction didn't go as planned and they murdered her. This woman was murdered. And they murdered her boyfriend too. And I remember watching the interviews and I remember I teared up and cried when the little girl said, well, why did he have to kill my mama? She had no understanding of it. But see, that lady was not paranoid enough, maybe didn't see the signs, knew the boyfriend may have been doing some shady dealings, but she never in a million years thought that she would be at his house and a transaction would go wrong and they would end up murdering her. So in the case where I was describing the gentleman that has the weapons, can't let them go, looking around, can't even walk without looking right, left, behind, just extremely paranoid. There may be some mental illness there, but I feel like during periods where we were in no contact, I feel like he's been threatened. He's got a threat from somebody that messed his mind up. And that's what happens with narcissists sometimes. They get that threat. They get that call. It could have been somebody from many, many years ago that's been looking for this man. Or they get that message from somebody that so-and-so said when they see you, man, or if they catch you in town, they blowing your wig off. And he ain't got no hair. He's bald. You see the level of fear that the narcissist has? So that's how it works. So the reason I'm using this example is don't think that the narcissist is paranoid. Sometimes believe their mindset so you can protect yourself. So as I watched throughout the years, the narcissist became more and more paranoid. And having paranoia, I began to logically look at it like maybe he ain't being paranoid. Maybe he doesn't have paranoia. He just got the special threat of his lifetime. And what did I do? Remove myself from the total situation. That way, if that situation was to explode, and that threat that he could have potentially got is pursued upon his life, I'm not around him when it happens. I'm not at his home when it happens. He's not at my home. He's not going to be followed to my home for anything to happen to me or my family. So just remember, they're not always paranoid. Because remember, narcissists have a lot of secrets that they're not telling you. So to us, they may look paranoid, but actually, they may be looking at things from a more accurate point of view because they got all the information that you don't, because they also know what they telling you, what they not telling you, and they know their real situation. And you don't know the real situation. Remember, narcissists never fully disclose their entire self to you. Even when the relationship ended with that narcissist, you didn't know everything. Even if you saw videos of what the narcissist does or doesn't do, you just saw some of the videos. So if you begin to look at things in this way, you won't think that that narcissist is so paranoid. Because we just think, oh, well, they just thinking stuff. They just making stuff up. The narcissist may say, well, you know, me and you gonna break up and I'm gonna be married in a year. And you think that's crazy. Or they may think, well, y'all already married and y'all going to get divorced. And you're thinking, well, that's a paranoid thought. But the narcissist then already asked somebody else to marry them. So that's not a paranoid thought. That's not paranoia. So what we want to do, we want to try to validate people as much as possible, even validating the narcissist. Because many of them are borderline possessed. So if that narcissist say he's seeing statues or he's seeing things that you can't see in the room, believe him. The man or woman can be under a demonic attack. So see, because we are believers and we believe in the Lord and the Most High in heaven, we not supposed to really be focusing on paranoia. We supposed to be focusing on truth too. But ultimately, these are just some of the reasons that the narcissist will seem to be paranoid and are paranoid. And we want to validate it as much as possible so we can protect ourselves. So let me see. I took a couple of notes. So I got my notepad here. Let me see another point I wanted to mention. Oh, mistrust of others. So I had a situation where there was actually a lady. There was a situation with another relative that got involved with these people's family, okay? And there was family retaliation. There was a family attack upon me and my family, verbal attacks. Now, this particular lady actually believed that her relative had been in my house. Anybody that knows me for real know that this particular person has not been in my house. I'm kind of like borderline, not a full-blown loner, but especially after the pandemic, it became much easier to go no contact with a lot of people. You got comfortable with these narcissists not visiting you. You had a way out. You can't come in my house because it's the pandemic. And then it was real for you. You didn't want to get the virus. Okay? So a lot of us are still kind of at a peace. It's not so much we paranoid. We just actually are existing in a great sense of peace. You either, during the pandemic, either you attracted a bunch of narcissists or you got rid of them. I got rid of them. I don't know if you got COVID. I don't know if you got any virus or illness. And I watch narcissists. Another thing, paranoia. Good thing to mention this again, because this particular narcissist, the same one with the guns and all of that, I couldn't believe how he did not make no attempt, y'all, to be more cautious, careful. He would go to the same associate or guy friend of his house every single day, y'all. Right when he would get off work, he would go to his guy friend house and drink like it wasn't no pandemic. And then would justify it as if him going to that man's house, and that particular man's house he would go to, his homie or whatever you want to call it, had quite a bit of visitors there. There were people kind of in and out. I wouldn't call it a full-blown traffic house, but it's definitely a house where this gentleman has company very regularly. And they had no paranoia. Because you got psychopaths and narcissists visiting that house, my ex being one of them. And it was amazing how he had no paranoia in the real sense of the word that he would get COVID or get sick in any way. And this was before they even came up with a shot for it. And people was getting the shot and still got COVID or got sick during the pandemic. So oftentimes with narcissists and psychopaths, y'all, they won't be paranoid. Listen to this very carefully. I think this is going to be the most important point of this half of the video. They won't be paranoid in the right areas. They will oftentimes commit crimes, even if they're not what you think is big, violent crimes. They could go to jail for a particular crime, get out of jail within 2 days, but will not have enough paranoia not to do that crime again. They will come up with a way and figure out a way to continue to do the crime, not realizing that that can backfire. So what I've learned about narcissists and psychopaths, they ain't paranoid enough. You think you're seeing paranoia, but it's so much that you don't know. If you really knew what the narcissists and psychopaths is really fully doing behind your back, you would actually think they should be more paranoid than they are. But they not. That is one of the biggest things. I don't know what other people are going to say in other videos. And that's one thing I don't do, y'all. When I do my research on something, I'll go to Google, but I will not go to YouTube. I will not look up any videos on YouTube about paranoia. And the reason I won't do it that way is so what I'm saying to you is not duplicated. If somebody said exactly what I just said, they just happen to have similar thoughts or may think the same way I do. But it's not because I watched a video and it says, okay, 20 tips to the narcissist or psychopath's paranoia. Here they are. These are the signs or tips that they're paranoid. And so that's what I've learned about psychopaths and narcissists, because there's a lot of irrational behavior, because they think they're better than you, even when they're not, because they think they're superior to you when they're not, because they think that their religion is better than yours when it's not. Because you shouldn't even be comparing religions. Your religion is your religion, my religion is mine. Because they think this way, they won't ever be paranoid. And one of the things that narcissists and psychopaths are not paranoid about enough is that you're going to figure they behind out. They never paranoid in the way that they should be about that. Because they think that they got the game all tight, and they think it's always going to come out in their best interest. And when the narcissists and psychopaths get to the point in their life when they realize stuff ain't going to come out the way they thought it was going to come out, when they can't accept the consequences, all the relationships that done failed, that was ultimately their fault. Even if you got in several relationships, yeah, you may be a bad picker. I may be a bad picker. But at the end of the day, those psychopaths and those narcissists are the ultimate cause of why the relationship could not go further. You had the love to make it work, but you might have been a bad picker. I know I was a bad picker. Okay. And the best solution for that is to stop picking. You got to figure out why you picking bad. Find something else to do. Oh, and the biggest paranoia going around now, y'all, is about people that ain't in relationships. Single women are being constantly attacked on YouTube. Where is your man? Why you ain't got a man? You not a good woman if you don't have a man. Single men, I don't think they're judged as much on YouTube for being single men and not having women. However, they're probably going under great scrutiny from relatives and friends sometimes, because misery want company, y'all. Misery just likes company. And so there's going to be a lot of attacks on single women and single men, even though the single women are being greatly exploited. That's a form of paranoia. Okay, so check this out. That is paranoia too, because they're paranoid of your happiness and your freedom and all that old school stuff and that way that those narcissists and psychopaths used to be able to control you. It's not happening no more. I can opt out and say, I don't want the man. I don't need to have a man here. I don't want him here paying my bills. He can't just come over here and knock my device out my hand and say, you stop doing that video or I'm going to beat the crap out of you. You put that device down or you're going to get brutally beat. He can't just do that in the way that he used to, because guess what? Now you can call the police. And so just look at it like this. A lot of the information that's going to be given out in today's world and time, it's based on paranoia. And what's the paranoia that's going on within the minds of these people that's even talking about single women like a dog, talking about your weight, trying to make you not feel good? That's paranoia. And I just learned this from doing this video. I didn't even realize that that's a form of paranoia that they're doing. So understand that too. And don't you become paranoia. You want to be pronoia, as we mentioned earlier, or I mentioned earlier, doing this video for you, okay? So, sister, following Juju, I hope this video helps. If I think of anything else about paranoia, I will maybe do a part 2 to this, because I may think of something else to add. So, let's just assume people are believing what they're believing, especially since we understand the spiritual world. We want to validate people and take heed to these examples I used. Like with the one attack, I was verbally attacked due to what a relative was doing. That lady actually believed that her relative had been in my home, even though it wasn't true. Now her husband didn't believe it. He validated me. But that lady probably had a serious mental problem that maybe she's not even aware of. And at the end of the day, the narcissists and psychopaths are always going to be open to those demonic attacks and their paranoia as time goes on and as they age. It's going to be an up and down, and it's going to get worse and worse because of the demonic energies, because they're not praying this stuff away, y'all, like we are. We praying it away. We asking for forgiveness. We're doing something about our issues, and they not. I love y'all so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed this video today. And I'm back, and I'm so excited to do more videos. I've been on this bike almost 39 minutes, y'all. And I appreciate you so much. Tune in for more. Love y'all. Bye. I appreciate you for listening. Thank you.